Johann Zarco then comes to pole position here in Qatar. From the gravel trap in FP4 to the history books in Q2, chasing a 4th podium finish. It's his 3rd pole. The last time we sat here was at the Twin Rim Motegi in Japan in those really wet conditions. He looks super relaxed, he looks super calm, although we've got to say, all the talk about Repsol Honda moves and being a championship contending, whether he's never won a race, it definitely got to him on Friday, where he was not the Johann Zarco that we've come to know and love.
No, he admitted it. He was like the old Zarco, feeling the pressure. Yesterday he managed to sort it out. Simon.
I'm here with Danilo, and Danilo, you've won a lot of fans in the last 12 months, and we're all hoping you get the bike you want in the future, and tell us how it's going so far in Qatar, mate.
At the moment everything is okay, but the race for sure will be very, very difficult. A lot of riders, very fast. We'll see for sure. The key is to manage the tire until the end, and we'll see. It's not very hot, so maybe softer options are better.
Thank you. Good luck.
Well, Danilo Petrucci, his recent form in the dry has been absolutely shocking. Nothing really to suggest that he's going to be a victory challenger tonight, but that's exactly where he finds himself. The 2 GP18s of Dovizioso and Petrucci, they look the strongest of that trio. Alex Rins, he has looked in great nick throughout winter testing. In every single winter test, he was inside the top 6. Confidence might have just taken a little bit of a knock with that first corner crash in the warm-up session, but if Suzuki are looking to return to the podium for the first time since Maverick Vinales in 2016, they may well need to rely on that man tonight.
Big puff of air there, a little nervy, and you can't blame him, can you, Alex Rins, as he really starts to feel the reality of what might be going on here.
Well, it just shows you how important this race and this event and how important MotoGP is in this part of the world. The Emir of the state of Qatar, our guest of honour, a very special guest of honour here to check out what promises to be a mouth-watering start to the 2018 MotoGP World Championship.
Here he is then, 9-time world champion now, 39. He'll be racing on till he's 41. And how many more can he add to that tally on the left there? Wins and podiums and poles. The fans will certainly be hoping he can.
Here we go. The pre-race ritual starting for Valentino Rossi. He loves this crouch down pose just to get his mind calm, get the nerves jangling. I don't care what anybody says, even when you're as long in the tooth as what Valentino Rossi is, with 9 world titles under your belt and over 100 Grand Prix victories, the first race of a season, even somebody like Rossi, Steve, who's ice cool, is going to be feeling a little bit of nerves.
You can't help it, can you? How can you not feel it? Here we see Danny Pedrosa. He's been through all this before. Danny, well, given the statistics that were read out a little while ago, you feel like it might well be a surprise to see him on the podium today, but you can never rule Danny Pedrosa out of anything.
I wonder what front tyre Danny Pedrosa's gone for. Michelin were dropping hints that it possibly would be the hard front, which may leave Marc Marquez and Cal Crutchlow not in a spot of bother, but they would have certainly wanted perhaps something a little bit harder. Here is Cal Crutchlow, wife Lucy next to him. He's just having a chat, final debrief with Christophe Bourguignon there, his crew chief.
4th place on the grid for Cal. He'd love to start the season off with a bang. Maybe gone a little under the radar over the course of the weekend.
Needs to find a bit of form, doesn't he, Cal? Only 3 top 6s in the last 10 races of 2017, well short of his normal high standards. Only 1 podium as well last year. That was all the way, well, almost a full calendar year ago now in Argentina.
Jorge Lorenzo listening to his music, focusing his mind. 9th on the grid, 3-time world champion. Simon.
Guys, I'm just with Jack Miller, who again is one of the newcomers to the class, but you've really been going great, and we're hoping for you in the race.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, I hope. Good, you know, got a reasonable group in front of me to try and latch onto and see what we can do, but you know, just happy to be out here, and I'm really enjoying my time on the Ducati for now.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks to Jack Miller there, 10th on the grid, and he was gutted when he came in from qualifying yesterday, thinking that his lap time was good enough for almost a front row start.
He did. He thought that 154.449 was going to be at least in the top 5. There's Andrea Iannone Well, will it be third time lucky for him here in Qatar? The last 2 years, he has been right at the sharp end, fighting for the podium when he's gone down the road. He was battling last year with Marc Marquez when he went down and clipped a white line when he was running second 2 years ago. There is Jack Miller, who we've just heard from Pramac Ducati Racing, just talking to Neil Hodgson from British TV there, getting a last-minute chat. Always a character, isn't he, Jack Miller?
He certainly is. It's like Neil selling insurance there with that get-up.
Good ride last year, actually, by Jack Miller. He was 8th. Crashed on the last lap in 2015, 14th in 2016. How will Miller be able to manage that rear tyre? That's a big question mark for the Australian.
There you can see the difference between pole and last year's race winner in 12th on the grid, Maverick Vinales. There's quite a gap there. Maverick Vinales is going to need the rocket start to get himself into contention here today. And here is the man that they are all expecting to take victory. Second place 3 times on the trot here in Qatar. And of course, second in last year's championship. But life has changed somewhat since he last raced here in Qatar. Simon.
Guys, I'm with Albano.
Romano Albesiano.
Sorry, guys. First time we've met, and I've managed to get him to tell us a little bit about, you had a great race with Aleix last year. He came through from 17th to 6th, and I'm wondering if you believe that you can get him to do the same.
Well, this year will be a more difficult, more tougher race because the level in the MotoGP has raised this year a lot. But we are quite confident that the pace with the tire we're choosing is very well. It's very good, and the only concern is the front tire wear from the long distance, and then we see.
Thank you.
It's not often, as we look at Maverick Vinales here, that he's able to fight through from as far back as this. Most of his podiums, Matt, have come from when he's been a lot higher up on the grid.
They've got a brilliant race bike, haven't they, Aprilia? That RSGP is so good at nursing its tyres. What they need is to find some speed on soft tyres. They just cannot go any quicker on soft tyres than what they can on worn tyres. That's why Aleix Espargaro's got an awful lot of work to do coming from row 5, 13th on the grid, last minute pat on the back, a last minute good luck message from Ducati boss Paolo Ciabatti to Danilo Petrucci. Here's Hafiz Syahrin. Well, in about, what, 8 minutes' time, he will be the first ever Malaysian to race in MotoGP. Whatever happens in the rest of his Grand Prix career, nobody will be able to take that away from him. And always nice to have a bit of history on your CV, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, if he couldn't believe it before, he will in a moment when that lid goes down.
His stomach is going to be jumping like crazy right now. I saw him earlier on. There's a few Malaysian fans actually here in Qatar. I saw him earlier on in the paddock, and he said, yeah, I am pretty tense, I'm pretty nervous.
We just heard from Romano Albesiano, and here is Scott Redding. It's his first time out on the Aprilia, his 4th change of team in 5 years. How will he fare? 17th on the grid. Can't expect him to move mountains early doors.
Not a bad record here in Qatar, though, for Scott Redding in his MotoGP career. 7th, 13th, 10th and 7th last year. But he's got work to do coming from 17th place on the grid. Tito Rabat, the former Moto2 world champion, he goes from 16th place. Rabat, the 28-year-old Spaniard, 15th here the last 2 years, a former Moto2 winner from pole position, actually, the year he won the Moto2 crown back in 2014.
Yeah, solid pre-season as well for Tito Rabat since switching over from Honda. Here is Aleix Espargaro then, who just couldn't get it going in qualifying, as Matt said. And it's all down now to the race. He was great in the race here last year, Matt. Came from further back than this to get himself some decent points. Yeah,
he did. It was Aprilia's first top 6 finish in the Premier class, I think going all the way back to 2003 when they first entered the 4-stroke era. A certain Colin Edwards, the Texas Tornado, doing the business on that night.
It's not been a pretty weekend so far for Red Bull KTM. It's the wrong graphic there, I'm afraid. That's not Tom Luthi, it is Bradley Smith. Just got to get through this weekend with an injured Pol Espargaro and back to the drawing board before we get to South America.
Hello guys, I'm here with Chaz Davies on the grid, and I thought I'd get a quick word with him and ask him, who's your money on, Chaz?
I'm looking at Dovi, not only because he's a fellow Ducati man, but he's just been rock solid all winter. So I'm thinking if I had a tenner in my pocket, I'd put it his way at the minute.
Thank you, Chaz.
Unsurprisingly, Chaz Davies going for Andrea Dovizioso. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, he's really put his neck on the line there, hasn't he, Chaz?
Good to hear from him, though. World Superbike rider, of course, getting ready for his visit to Thailand next weekend, actually. So not a bad stop-off gap, is it? Here is Pol Espargaro. In many ways, it's just good to see him actually here on the grid after what's happened in pre-season. And let's see what he can do. Can he muster up anything from way back on the grid? 22nd he starts.
They say they're not human and call them aliens. They say that the laws of physics don't apply to them. They use their own language to navigate each part of the circuit, a language that only they can understand. They say they need the front tyre to speak to them and the rear tyre to obey them. They know every twist and turn, every bump, apex, gear change, and the detail of the circuit that they call their battleground. Once the visor is down, they're in their own world. They say they are programmed to find the limit and to put it all on the line, to push as hard as they can, making split-second decisions every second of every lap. Information coming in at well over 200 miles per hour. At times they get knocked down, but they never tire of getting back up. And they never quit. They even fight against the elements because they're made of tougher stuff than the rest of us. Nothing else compares and nothing else matters. The rush, the speed, the will to win. Being at one with the bike. They're driven by passion. Walking the line between rational and irrational. They say they're not human, but they are. They're simply a different breed. Welcome to MotoGP.
So here we go. The lights are on. The revs are going to go up very, very shortly. It's the opening round of the 2018 MotoGP World Championship. Pole position for the third time in the Premier Class for Johan Zarco. World Champion Marc Marquez and Danilo Petrucci join him on that first row. Cal Crutchlow, many people's pre-race favourite Andrea Dovizioso, and Suzuki's Alex Rins on the second row. A star-studded row 3 led by Dani Pedrosa, Valentino Rossi, who's won from 8th here in Qatar before, and Jorge Lorenzo on that third row. Jack Miller, Andrea Iannone, and 2017 Qatar winner Maverick Vinales on row 4. Alex Espargaro, Franco Morbidelli, Hafi Siren on row 5. Row 6, Tito Rabat, Scott Redding and Tom Luthi ahead of his 250th Grand Prix start. Only 13 men have done that previously in history. Carol Abraham, Bradley Smith and Alvaro Bautista on row 7. Row 8 and the field completed by Pol Espargaro, Taka Nakagami and Xavier Simeon.
They begin the warm-up lap and we are ready. 22 laps coming up shortly. Matt, beyond Dovizioso, I think everybody agrees that he has to be the pre-race favourite. Who do you think at this moment that you could probably say have the strongest chances of joining him on a podium if it was to go that way?
Based on race pace from FP4, I'm going to go Petrucci, and I'm going to really stick my neck out and go last year's race winner Maverick Vinales from 12th. He's a dark horse for me.
Simon.
Guys, everybody has gone the soft rear tyre. It's only fronts that are the difference. The two Repsol Honda guys have gone hard. So Danny and Mark, hard front. Majority are on medium. So I'll just read out the softs, which are Petrucci, Javier Simeon, and there we go, Bautista, a couple more, Bradley Smith, his teammate Espargaro, a couple more, Redding, and believe it or not, Rossi. and Tito. That's it. They're on the softs. Everyone else has gone medium. Thanks, guys.
Not surprised that Petrucci went soft. That's what he was so good at in the race simulation here in the test 2 weeks ago. He's been flying all weekend here ahead of the opening round of the season on the soft. Dovizioso there, medium soft for him. The interesting one there for me, Dani Pedrosa on the hard front tyre. Very unusual for Dani to use that. And more interesting, Marc Marquez. Will he overheat that hard front tyre? Because he always, as we said earlier, picks something harder than Dani Pedrosa. Is the hardest front tyre that Michelin bore here still even a little bit too soft for Marc Marquez? We're going to find out very, very soon.
Well, we've been waiting a long time for this. 127 days ago, the checkered flag came out in Valencia. We had a test there. We had a test in Sepang, in Thailand, and here in Qatar 2 weeks ago. But the talking stops here. It's time to start walking. Johann Zarco, will he electrify us from the start, and can he do anything about that race pace that looks concerning in terms of his chances of potentially picking up a podium?
Well, he bolted away at the front this time last year when he was a rookie revelation. He led for the first 6 laps before he went down at turn number 2, Johann Zarco. He needs an aggressive start. He hasn't had the race pace of those around him.
Predicted race pace in the 55s. No surprise there, given the test and what we've seen so far this weekend. Pole position, Zarco, Marquez and Petrucci all joining him. Green flag at the back, 22 laps. MotoGP is underway for 2018, and away we go. A good start from Cal Crutchlow on row 2. Marc Marquez gets away well also. Petrucci gets swallowed up a little. Cal's almost on the grass, and into turn 1, it's Dani Pedrosa looking to get through, but Zarco holds on to it.
Zarco then got the whole shot. Valentino Rossi got a decent start away as well too. Pedrosa attacks Marquez on the inside at turn number 2. Can't find a way through. Marquez stands firm. Rossi around the outside of Cal Crutchlow. Rossi on the charge straight away. He's already picked up 3 places from 8th to 5th.
Oh, he just has a bit of a moment there on the rear, does Rossi, but at the front it's Zarco from Marquez and his teammate Pedrosa. What a start from him.
Dovizioso's been swallowed. Dovizioso started 5th. He's been pushed back 4 places, so the pre-race favourite, work to do from 9th.
Music to the ears of the opposition. The Suzukis are pushing. There goes Alex Rins up the inside of Aleix Espargaro. As we just see there, Valentino trying to engage in battle with Danilo Petrucci.
So Pedrosa had a great start, up 4 places from 7th to 3rd. Just Zarco and his teammate Marc Marquez ahead of him. Rossi now in 4th place. Brilliant opening half of a lap for Valentino Rossi then, already up into 4th.
The talk of the town is Johann Zarco at the moment, off circuit.
That's with Petrucci getting aggressive up the inside of Cal Crutchlow. That was fighting back for 5th place. Petrucci started on that front row.
Danilo Petrucci then, just about to get a face full of Cal Crutchlow. There's Iannone, then it's Dovizioso up ahead of Alex Rins now. And a bit of a gap back, no surprise there. These are the guys that we expected to see at the sharp end. Here is Danilo Petrucci. He'll just want to settle himself down here. He knows he's got the race pace, but he's said before he's got to be careful when it comes to dealing with all that horsepower.
Well, with everybody out in that soft rear tyre, it's all about front tyre choice, isn't it? Critical, the front tyre wear, long race here. Zarco's out a bit wide, he's out well wide at turn 16. That's where he went down in FP4 last night, and Marc Marquez pounces. The reigning world champion will lead over the line at the end of the first lap of 2018.
Oh, it's Slipstream City though. Zarco comes through and outbreaks him. Pedrosa's there as well, and here comes Rossi trying to go underneath Pedrosa. No joy, wide again then from Zarco, but he just manages to cut it back.
Rossi had the first lap he dreamt of last night, up into 4th place now, right on the exhaust pipes of Dani Pedrosa's Repsol Honda. Rossi will not waste any time on trying to find a way through on the Spaniard in front of him.
Here you go then, just in the background there, there's someone just fallen all the way back. I'm not sure who that was, but someone's just fallen to the back of the field, or maybe even out of the race. It's Zarco that leads this one though, from Marquez and Pedrosa. Here comes Rossi up the inside. There was a door open, he can't get through.
Boy, Lorenzo making no impression whatsoever. He's down in 12th place. And Maverick Vinales, what's happened to the race winner from 1 year ago? Vinales down in 14th place, holding off the 2 Brits, Bradley Smith and Scott Redding. So Vinales needs a miracle already to repeat his success of 1 year ago. He had the race pace in FP4 last night, but it's been a shocking start for Vinales.
Shocking start for him. A good start from Bradley Smith. He's up 6 places and he's into 14th. Meanwhile, at the front here, yeah, that is bad news for Maverick Vinales. His chances of podium already looking very, very weak indeed. Zarco then just about in control of this one still. Cal Crutchlow still weaving all over the back of Danilo Petrucci, trying to find a way through on the Italian.
Surprised that Cal Crutchlow didn't go for that hard front tyre. Normally, he chooses the exact same front as Marc Marquez. They're both really aggressive on the front end, but Cal Crutchlow's gone for the medium. How long will he have good life out of that? He preferred the hard for the braking stability, but he didn't feel like it gave him the corner entry in the mid-corner speed or turning. That's why he's opted for the medium. How long can he make it last before he starts getting all that movement in the middle of the corner?
Rossi in the slipstream now with Dani Pedrosa down the start-finish straight, and Marquez True trying to make a move, but Rossi's going to surely have a look up the inside here into turn one, and does. Rossi's up to third.
Textbook move then on the brakes into the first corner by Rossi, into the podium places within 2 laps. Andrea Dovizioso sitting tight in 7th place. He's just fired in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.9, so straight away they've got down to what we expected to be race pace based on FP4. 1:55.7 was predicted pace, very, very close to it already. 2.5 laps into the season.
Andrea Dovizioso is at the moment in 7th, ahead of the 2 Suzukis. Rins and Iannone have switched places, then it's Jack Miller and Jorge Lorenzo. Lorenzo at the moment not having the start to the race that he was looking for. Defensive line there from Petrucci in 5th place, trying to keep Cal Crutchlow at bay, and Rossi here is eyeing up a move on Marc Marquez. He's eager to get to the front of this one.
Yeah, Rossi and Marquez had a great showdown for the podium on Marc Marquez's MotoGP debut way back in 2013. Zarco looking pretty comfortable as he was at this stage of the race last year. Petrucci, there's not a lot of room there. He tries to squeeze up the inside of Dani Pedrosa. You can see already Dani Pedrosa getting that rear tyre, that soft rear tyre on the Repsol Honda lit up. Bit of a head shake as well for Petrucci as he swept through turn 11.
He's just looking a bit uncomfortable at times, Petrucci. He doesn't want to see those top 3 drift away. He's really keen to get past Pedrosa. If he can get into turn 16, well, he's got every chance of getting past him on the start-finish straight. Zarco, Marquez, Rossi, your top 3, though.
Tyre management was never Danilo Petrucci's forte. He was worried last night about reverting to his default setting, being a bit aggressive with that right hand. We saw him so many times last year burn up that rear tyre, has an impact as well on fuel consumption. He seemed to have smoothed out and tamed his aggressive riding style, but in the heat of battle, will it all come back to the fore?
Honda have worked on their power during the winter, but he still can't find a way past Zarco here. Petrucci now is able to get past Pedrosa, just as Rossi did on the lap before. Petrucci then moving up into 4th place. Fastest man on the circuit, Alex Rins, 55.6 for the Suzuki rider in 8th. We ride with him here.
Maverick Vinales crossed the line at the end of lap 3, 14th place, a 1:56.4. He's about a second off the pace, Maverick Vinales. What a contrast to 1 year ago when he took pole position here and then won on his Yamaha debut. Oh, he'd love to have the feeling on that motorcycle that he had 12 months ago, but Maverick Vinales really, really struggling.
Cal Crutchlow here now trying to make a move on fellow Honda rider Dani Pedrosa. Pedrosa struggling to stay in this at the sharp end. There's Andrea Dovizioso, who since getting past the Suzukis hasn't been able to make up too much ground from there. Still a long, long way to go in this one here. The opening night of Qatar, and you could be forgiven for tuning in here and thinking you're watching 2017.
Nicely done by Cal Crutchlow up the inside of Dani Pedrosa at turn number 9. Beautiful executed move by the British rider, so he's up really mobile now into the top 5.
Jorge Lorenzo can't shake off the advances of Franco Morbidelli at the moment in the battle for 11th place.
Top ride by the rookie. His main goal, of course, this year is to be the top rookie, one of 5 rookies in the World Championship this season. But if he can start off the season with a top 10 in front of Maverick Vinales and Aleix Espargaro, quality opposition behind him. Top job by the reigning Moto2 World Champion.
On board here with the World Champion Marc Marquez as he looks to try and close up on Johann Zarco. We now make our way onto this long start-finish straight. What's the slipstream like as they climb to close to, what, 350 kilometers per hour? Dovizioso, fastest man on the circuit, a 55.5 that time around. He's up into 6th. He's also got past Dani Pedrosa.
Yeah, he's got in his rhythm here, hasn't he? Dani Pedrosa seems like he's struggling a little bit to go with this lead group. Confirmation on your screens, that 1:55.569 from Dovizioso, slightly faster than the predicted race pace, so it shows that the guys are running a real hot rhythm at the front. Yeah, as we said, Pedrosa is struggling a little bit. Alex Rins, the next one to sweep underneath him. Pedrosa tries to fight back. Danny Pedrosa's got the inside line. He does strike straight back on Rins.
He doesn't want to go down here like a sinking ship, does he, Danny Pedrosa? But it doesn't look like there's any podium on offer for him. At the front, it's still Zarco, Marquez, Rossi, but the gap now between Rossi and Petrucci is closed. The Ducati rider has managed to close that up. Crutchlow's joining him as well. Dovi just on their tail, and a tiny gap opening up to Pedrosa and the Suzukis. Jack Miller's also got his nose up ahead of Andrea Iannone as well. So Iannone down to 10th. Then it's Lorenzo Morbidelli and Aleix Espargaro not making any ground at all. Likewise, Maverick Vinales, Matt, still in a lowly 14th.
Yeah, got to say though, Vinales last time around, Steve, a 55.8. That was the exact same lap time as your race leader Zarco. So Vinales, as he suggested in FP4, has definitely got podium pace. But when you're starting 12th and you get mired in the pack like he did on those first 2 laps, he's given himself the mother of all mountains to climb, and I think it's going to be too late. Rins then again strikes on Pedrosa. That's at turn number 15, is it? Yeah, penultimate corner.
Rins has had good pace during the whole weekend and in the test as well. Can he now close that gap down to Andrea Dovizioso? 17 to go. No change in the top 3.
Cal Crutchlow now the fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.5. There's nothing between the lap times at the front of this field. Zarco 55.7, 55.8 from Marquez, a 55.7 from Rossi, 55.6 for Petrucci.
There won't be many riders in this top 5 or 6 group that don't believe they can win this race. It is so possible here.
The top 10 down to Andrea Iannone. At the top of your picture now, covered by just 2.5 seconds. Rossi sweeps, Rossi pounces. He's up the inside of Marc Marquez. Valentino Rossi up into 2nd place.
Satellite Yamaha leads, factory Yamaha 2nd. Zarco from Rossi and Marquez, and Petrucci now closes on the tail there of Marc Marquez also. Valentino Rossi then sets his eyes on the flying Frenchman, who in a moment is going to start his 6th lap, Matt.
We've had a precedent from Rossi. He's done it before. He's got an 8th victory in Qatar in his locker before. Now into 2nd place. Marc Marquez then 3rd ahead of Petrucci. He's doing well to just hang in there. Cal Crutchlow piling the pressure on the Italian. Hasn't been able to find his way through just yet.
On board here with Valentino Rossi, looking back to the world champion Marc Marquez.
This is the stage of the race where Rossi was confident and knew he would be fast. The issue for Rossi, or the major concern for Rossi, is those last 5 or 6 laps, not the first 5 or 6. It's when his front tyre is showing real signs of excessive wear. But he's right where he wanted to be at this stage of the race.
Has he been asking too much of that tyre early on, though? That's the big question. The group all bunching up together. Simon.
Guys, Rossi is the one, to me, that standout surprised me with his tyre choice, because, I mean, for example, even Zarco, who's famous for running softer tyres, has chosen a medium, and Rossi's chosen a soft, which I think is really dangerous, you know, for the end of the race. But good luck to him.
Well, Petrucci briefly had 3rd place from Marc Marquez. He's running a little bit hot on the brakes. He's got the inside line now, though, for turn 2. Marquez, though, holds firm, so Petrucci for a split 2nd with the horsepower down the start-finish straight of that Ducati GP18. Just for, what, 2 seconds? Had 3rd place ahead of Marquez, but just in a fraction hot at turn 1. Marquez allowed, or certainly took the advantage to sweep back through.
Well, Johan Zarco's lasted longer than he did last year anyway. We're on the 6th lap and he's past turn 2. How much longer can he hold this lot? Because the bus here is forming. Look at this train.
The pace here, Steve, is red hot. Alex Rins has just fired in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.3. The only rider in the top 12 last time around, not in the 55s, was Marc Marquez, and he did a 56 flat. Terrible lap by Marquez, a 56 flat.
You can just see here information coming in from Maverick Vinales that Aleix Espargaro was 0.9 behind him. I don't think he'll be interested in what information he's got on the screen at the moment.
He's going to be kicking himself, Vinales, for qualifying in 12th place, because again, last time around, he set a personal best lap of 55.7. That was faster than Zarco, the exact same lap time as his teammate Rossi. But Vinales, just with that Those 15 minutes in Q2 last night may have compromised his whole weekend.
Matt, Zarco's not been in the 55s for most of the weekend, and yet at the moment, he's holding strong.
Yeah, he looks so composed, so comfortable, doesn't he? Johann Zarco, we know, Steve, he's got such a silky, smooth riding style, so much finesse in that right hand. He'll have no dramas getting that soft tyre to go the full race distance. He's going to be coming under attack, but Rossi's in the slipstream. Marquez pops out from behind. Zarco, I thought Rossi was going to have a look up the inside of Zarco on the brakes. Dovizioso starting his charge towards the top three as well. Dovizioso picks up Crutchlow and Petrucci on that long drag to the first corner. A bit of Ducati horsepower coming to the fore there.
Oh, Petrucci getting a bit desperate there as well. That wasn't much of a gap. He tried to lunge underneath Cal Crutchlow. So the danger man, Dovizioso, slowly but surely picks them off.
The fastest two riders on track last time around were, believe it or not, the two factory Yamahas. The Yamaha loves this LaSalle International Circuit. 5 times in the last 6 years, and M1 has taken the victory, including the last 3, a combination of Jorge Lorenzo, Valentino Rossi and Maverick Vinales. Rossi and Vinales last time around were both in the 155.5s.
This is a tyre war because there's just nothing in this lot at all. Nothing to split any of these guys that you're looking at. We're on board with Andrea Dovizioso in 4th. He's looking back at his old teammate, Cal Crutchlow.
And in a race, Steve, where tyre management is going to be one of the key factors, if not the pivotal factor, we do know that one of the real big weapons in Andrea Dovizioso's armoury is tyre management. The Ducati so gentle on that rear tyre, and Andrea Dovizioso with his smooth riding style. He's aggressive on the front end, Andrea, really hard on the brakes, but he's got a real smooth right hand. He will not abuse that rear tyre at all.
Oh, Cal Crutchlow keeps on eyeing up a retaliating move on Dovizioso, but just can't quite get close enough to the Italian to launch. Now then, will Rossi be close enough here, Matt, to get into the slipstream and lead this race?
It may well be. Jack Miller had a big moment coming through turn number 15. Miller's problems all weekend has been when he first opens the throttle. He has a tyre sliding rear to the rear. Is Rossi going to be close enough to attack at the first corner? Rossi thinks about it, not going to be close enough. Zarco super late on the brakes to outbrake Valentino Rossi. You've got to be pretty sharp on that front end. That's exactly where Zarco was. He holds firm.
Good stuff there from Johann Zarco. He knows that he's got company. He saw it on his pit board, but Valentino tried. It didn't work on this occasion. There's Marquez 3rd, Dovizioso, last year's runner-up in 4th, and it's so close behind him as well. Crutchlow, Petrucci, Rins, who's well in this.
He's starting to look seriously menacing, is Dovizioso. He's just put in a personal best lap of the race, a 155.499. Cal Crutchlow breathing down his neck, though. Crutchlow in turn under real pressure from Petrucci, who's himself under severe pressure from Alex Rins.
He's not going to go past Marc Marquez without a fight, though, Andrea Dovizioso. Marquez has already labelled the Italian as the favourite for this race. If it's not going to be that way, then they're going to have to really ruffle his feathers.
The thing as well, Steve, the luxury that the Ducati riders have, Dovizioso and Petrucci, is that they know that that bike is a missile down the start-finish straight. You don't have to take the risk sometimes in the corners. As long as you're close enough in the slipstream to line somebody up. I don't really recall too many passes that Andrea Dovizioso's made on the brakes. He's using that superior horsepower and grunt down the start-finish straight to make his moves.
Davide Brivio looking on. Alex Rins at the moment is his main rider in this battle for a podium. Andrea Iannone, he's been somewhat disappointing so far. He just can't find a way past Jack Miller, who's in 9th place.
Vinales found his way through on Franco Morbidelli, and straight away he's gapped the reigning Moto2 world champion. Vinales next in his eye line is going to be Jorge Lorenzo, who just has not been able to get himself onto the back of Andrea Iannone. The battle for the top 10, Lorenzo 1.5 seconds back, although he himself has got just down to a 155.7.
That'll be really frustrating, Rossi, that he's looking at the satellite Yamaha that just gets more drive out of that final corner than he can.
The pace is electric. The pace is absolutely incredible. Personal best lap from Zarco, 155.6 as he tries to fend off Rossi. Personal best lap from Danny Pedrosa as well, a 155.6. Vinales again down into those mid-155s. How far is he back, Vinales? 4.6 seconds. The only major concern for Maverick Vinales is how much is he burning up that rear tyre trying to get back in the contention.
It's been a good ride from the Malaysian Hafiz Syahrin. He's in 16th place. He's ahead of some brilliant riders. Smith, Espargaro, Bautista, Abraham, Luti. It's his first ever MotoGP race. Hats off to him. Morbidelli is the leading rookie. He's in 13th, ahead of Aleix Espargaro. Not bad at all.
Yeah, Morbidelli's pace has started to drop off a little bit though. Last time around he did a 56.6. That's why Maverick Vinales was immediately, once he found his way through, able to stretch his advantage to over a second. And within the space of a lap and a half, Vinales has taken over 2 seconds out of Morbidelli.
Johan Zarco, who seemingly had no pace in terms of being able to fight for this race. Something's changed. He's either had something up his sleeve, or he might even be reassessing the opportunities here in front of us. He is lapping comfortably in the 155s. He's still got, he won't want to have rear view mirrors, but he still looks comfortable enough. And crucially, Matt, he just has the edge on drive on Valentino out of turn 16, which in turn means that Rossi can't quite get in touch with him.
Yeah, he's always had good drive coming out of this final corner, Johan Zarco. That'll be something to do with his body weight as well. He's quite a lot smaller and lighter than Valentino Rossi, so that will be an advantage in an acceleration zone like turn 60. You can see Rossi though, Rossi's attacking. He's got in the slipstream. Will he lead now going into the first corner? Again, Zarco's late on the brakes.
Frustration continues as running wide there goes Danilo Petrucci. Can Cal Crutchlow go through?
Yeah, Marquez got through on Rossi, Steve. Sorry about that. I don't know whether Rossi might have just outbraked himself, but Marquez did find a way through in a second place.
Rossi was focused mainly here on getting Zarco, but what we couldn't see is that Marquez is getting a double slipstream. And so in his attempt to go through, does Rossi run slightly wide on the exit here?
Yeah, Valentino's in hot.
Well, Zarco did as well.
Zarco sucked him in, didn't he, there? The door was wide open, and when the door's wide open and your name's Marc Marquez, you're coming through. Dovizioso, oh, we said he was starting to look menacing. Up the inside of Valentino Rossi he goes. So in the blink of an eye, Rossi's gone from second down into fourth. He's back in third though, these two experienced veteran Italians. What a dogfight between Rossi and Dovizioso going on here.
Rossi's not faced a Dovizioso like this for some time, that's for sure. Dovizioso and Rossi swapping red and blue paint.
Petrucci now, that was an ambitious lunge there, trying to get up the inside of Valentino Rossi. I admire his bravery and his ambition. Look at that smoke pouring off Petrucci's rear tyre, lighting up that rear tyre. Every race last year, oh, Rossi had a moment there on the front, didn't he? Big, big moment for Rossi on that front end. Oh. Is he already running, Steve, into the critical front tyre issues that he feared?
Yeah, he's having a bit of a horror lap here, isn't he, Valentino Rossi? He's gone from challenging Zarco for the lead. He's dropped to fourth, and he's in danger here of not just losing 1 or 2 places, but there's 3 or 4 riders behind him.
There's been a couple of corners on this lap where Rossi's front end's been wobbling around like a bowl of jelly.
Luckily for him, Crutchlow might have just given him a little bit of breathing space. He was attacking Petrucci there, but onto the home straight we go. And Marquez looked like he's in a good position here, but so is Dovizioso, who's going to get double slipstream. Dobby's going to be flying here. He is. He gets double slipstream. Oh, he's going to go past Marquez, and will he get Zarco too? Dovi is up into second.
Does Dovizioso feel like he's got the rhythm and the speed? He's bided his time, he's been patient. Can, when he gets to the front, then try and break up the field. Gigi Dall'Igna looking on, pretty pensive, pretty apprehensive. The big bosses are here. Claudio Domenicali, the CEO of Ducati, now sees his man up into second place.
Crutchlow and Petrucci here, swapping paintwork and allowing Rossi just a bit of breathing space after a sketchy lap there, but at the moment, regrouping is the 39-year-old. Zarco it is that still leads this one low. Let's not forget that here on lap number 12.
It's like a Moto3 battle at the front of this Grand Prix. Just the start we were hoping for, just the start we were praying for in the MotoGP World Championship. The guys, the best of the best, have not let us down so far, and thankfully we're only a half race distance, another 11 to go.
What we would give for the tyres to just hang in there and just get a proper last lap showdown between this lot. It is so close. Here is Valentino Rossi then in 4th place, Crutchlow in behind him in 5th.
You can see Rossi's bike, it is just starting to move around a little bit underneath him. We are going to be coming very shortly to that critical phase of the race where Rossi was worried about certainly front tyre life. We know that last year, the Yamaha did tend to run out of rear grip while they try and work on those electronics. On board with Marc Marquez, ahead of him, his biggest rival, his surprise biggest rival in 2017, Dovizioso.
Interestingly, on that last lap, 3 riders are in the 55s was all. Lorenzo, Viñales and Dani Pedrosa. Viñales, like you said, is going to be absolutely kicking himself.
Zarco got that Yamaha hooked up brilliantly coming out of turn number 16. No way, even with the grunt of the Ducati, was Andrea Dovizioso going to even get a sniff at throwing a wheel up the inside of Zarco at the first corner.
Cal Crutchlow's looking in a pretty good position here, Matt. He's looking aggressive there in 5th place. He's just got to cross the line of 55.6. That's faster than everyone in front of him. And Alex Rins, after such a strong performance this weekend, goes down from 6th place. And they can't believe it. A podium might have been on the cards, but unfortunately for Alex Rins, it's not to be here in round 1.
No, they were hoping it was going to be a night to remember. It's been a night to forget then. 2 crashes tonight for Alex Rins.
Zarco's trying to bolt here, sorry, Matt. Zarco is bolting.
And Marquez knows that because he's got up the inside of Dovizioso. Marquez knows that Johann Zarco is trying to pull the pin here, and straight away he reacted and he got up the inside of Dovizioso.
Well, what a shame for Alex Rins.
Lorenzo's
down too now as well.
Hobbling away as well. Looks like a fairly rapid crash for Jorge Lorenzo, so that's going to be pushing Maverick Viñales inside the top 10. Turn 5, that's where we saw Valentino Rossi go down in FP3.
0.6 of a second lead now here for Johann Zarco, ahead of Marc Marquez, Andrea Dovizioso, then it's Rossi and Crutchlow. Crutchlow is the fastest rider in the leading pack on that last lap. But you rather fancy that a decent lap time's coming in here from Johann Zarco as well. Let's keep an eye on Crutchlow though. He's closing in on Valentino Rossi.
Shout out to Tito Rabat, Steve, in 13th place. He's going to move up a couple of places because of those crashes. Rabat has just fired in a 1:55.8. Quicker than Zarco, Dovizioso, Marquez, Rossi. Quicker than the top 4 guys.
Matt, Hafiz Siren is lapping as quick as the guys in 6th and 7th. Hafiz Siren, the Malaysian, is in 14th place. Here comes Dovi.
This top 3 are breaking away from Rossi here, Steve. This might be a 3-man fight for the 3 spots on the podium. Which way will it fall? Rossi's not going to give up, but is that front end giving up on him? That's going to be the crucial factor. He's talked about it incessantly all weekend. Seems to be able to close up on the brakes going into the first corner. Is Petrucci and Pedrosa just hanging on in there?
Here we see a move from Marc Marquez on Andrea Dovizioso, something that we saw quite a bit of in 2017.
Well, if we get a final lap like we had in Austria and Japan last year, we'd sign up for that right now.
Rossi's just managed to find something midway through, of course, sectors 2 and 3, Yamaha territory.
We're about 4 laps away from Valentino Rossi being in the danger zone, or what he thought was going to be the danger zone in terms of that front tyre life. So right now, probably he feels relatively comfortable as you can be when the action's as frantic and frenetic as it is. Dovizioso closes right up on Andrea Dovizioso.
If you've just tuned in, this is not a Moto3 race.
Dovizioso closes up on Andrea Dovizioso, closing up on himself. It must have been his shadow from the floodlights.
This is brilliant stuff with 8.5 laps to go. Any one of these riders could still be in with a shout of winning this one.
Well, Marc Marquez did lead very briefly over Johann Zarco, but the Frenchman still setting the pace and looking pretty comfortable at it, as Steve said.
This is a turn up for the books for Zarco. This was not expected, given what we'd seen and what we'd heard from the man himself yesterday in the press conference either. But as we start lap number 15.
Yeah, they're telling Andrea Dovizioso, the G3 message, just look at the top speed of that factory Ducati. Blitzes by Marc Marquez like he's on a Moto3 bike. Dovizioso then up in a 2nd place.
Cal Crutchlow here desperately trying to find a way past Valentino Rossi. But outbreaking Valentino Rossi is one of the more difficult tasks in MotoGP.
What a race. What a fight we've got in our hands here. 8 laps to go. The top 7 riders covered by just 1 second.
Dani Pedrosa's back in the party as well. With everything that's going on in front of him, he's not out of this one just yet either. He's just up behind Danilo Petrucci. Look at this. Yamaha, Ducati, Honda, Yamaha, Honda, Ducati, Honda.
The most frustrated man in Qatar right now is probably going to be Maverick Viñales, because he's had pace to go with these guys. He has had brilliant pace all throughout this race, as we knew he would do based on FP4. Trying to find his way through on Andrea Iannone right now, Maverick Vinales, but he's just too far back in field to try and get himself back into contention for this podium.
It's just the tiniest of moments there for Andrea Dovizioso. Nothing major, but enough to lose half a tenth and give Zarco a bit of breathing space. On board now with the number 46, Valentino Rossi.
Dovizioso will know how good Zarco is at coming out of that final corner. He gets it hooked up brilliantly on that rear tyre. So Dovizioso will know he's probably going to have to be really, really tight. Marquez has a good long look over his left shoulder, and he'll get a face full of Valentino Rossi as well. He wants to know how big this group is, Marc Marquez. Well, Mark, it's 7 of you covered by a second.
Yeah, blink, and you're not just out of the top 3. You're down to 7th place overall. On to the start-finish straight we go. There are 7 laps remaining here, and it's still Johann Zarco leading, as it has been for pretty much all of this race.
Here is Maverick Vinales. He's pounced finally on Andrea Iannone. That's the battle for 8th. 8th place now held by Vinales. He started in 12th. It was the first 2 laps that really wrecked his hopes of winning for a second successive year here in Qatar. Nobody as yet able to really ruffle Johann Zarco's feathers. Pedrosa's got through on Petrucci as well now, so Dani Pedrosa still fighting for his first ever victory here in Qatar.
Just wonder, don't you, if Petrucci's got a bit hand-heavy here in this race. He was worried about it yesterday, the nature of the race, the fact that there'd be so many people in there, that his concentration might just go away from him.
Just looking at Maverick Vinales, Steve, is it too late? Last time around he did a 1:55.9. That was a second quicker than Petrucci. Vinales' pace is red hot. At this stage of the race, to still be in the high 55s when those tyres are really starting to wear now is absolutely exceptional stuff from Vinales. The Maverick Vinales we saw winning 3 of the first 5 Grand Prix last year. The Maverick Vinales we thought was going to run away with the 2017 MotoGP World Championship. He's back.
Well, he's going to need 4 or 5 tenths a lap here, and he really will be in it then. In fact, he won't even need that. There is a chance, if he's going to continue on in the 55s, there's every chance.
Yeah, what a carrot this is, though, for Vinales.
Gap's down to 2. I tell you what, he's taken half a second out already on this lap.
Well, there was nobody else able to run in the 55s. Your race leader Zarco was a 56.2. Petrucci was down in the 56.8s. Vinales, he may just run out of time here. He might have needed this to be a 24-25 lap race, and he was going to be right in the pound seats, but is it all a little bit too little too late? Zarco's able to gap the field coming out of that final corner. He's so good, and he's dipped himself back into the 55s.
55.5 from Maverick Vinales. He's not out of this at all.
He couldn't buy a 55 in practice, Johann Zarco, and here he is now reeling them off to stay at the front of this race. He did this in Valencia, didn't he?
Mapping 3, the signal for Danilo Petrucci.
Yeah, he's probably got to go to a softer mapping now just to maybe save a bit of fuel, save a bit of tyre life. And in doing so, will that be the end of his podium charge? There's Vinales just at the top of your picture on the blue Movistar Yamaha, looming large now in this battle. It's been a truly brilliant fight back. Paul Espargaro on the KTM has entered the pits. Been a real rough start to 2018 for the Spanish rider, and it hasn't got any better on the opening night here in Qatar.
Quarter of a second the advantage for Zarco over Dovizioso, but crucially another 4 tenths taken out by Vinales on Petrucci. Now, if Vinales doesn't overcook his tyres here, he will be in this podium fight on the last lap, make no mistake. If he continues this, he could even be in a shot with a win, and that sounds remarkable given what's happened already, but he is absolutely flying at the moment. Last year's race winner, Maverick Vinales.
This will be a comeback to rival Lazarus. It's been absolutely brilliant. This has been stunning performance by Maverick Vinales, the Maverick Vinales of old, the one we want to see fighting at the sharp end of the World Championship. He's been such a frustrated, downcast, downbeat figure throughout winter testing. Just wonder whether he might run out of time as it Constantina's up there now through turn 16. Is Dovizioso this time around going to be close enough to blast and blitz his way through on Johann Zarco's Tech 3 Yamaha? They wind it up now to top gear, and here comes the GP18.
He's done it, he's got past, and so is Marquez as well. A block past there. Marquez ain't going to stop it. He's going to go wide here. Marc Marquez, he just could not get that Honda stop. He's done remarkably well there to recover that.
Marc Marquez, I thought, was heading to the car park there, and that was an amazing pull-up on the front end by Marc Marquez. Nothing wrong with that hard front tyre option he's got in that Repsol Honda right now. He was quick to get through on Zarco. He knows he doesn't want Dovizioso to get away.
He got sucked into that, did Marc Marquez. Slipstream, there was no room, nowhere for him to go, look. Zarco has to move his knee inwards. This is, you're right, he was heading towards the car park. Marquez at this point is thinking, oh, goodness me, I've got to get this pulled up. How on earth he stayed upright, I don't know.
Well, he was nearly wearing a bit of red and white and silver Ducati paint there, wasn't he?
And Rossi's got Zarco as well.
So Zarco, in the space of, what, 30 seconds, has gone from being your race leader to not even being on the podium.
Well, this is Moto3, because this is exactly what happens. Now, Marc Marquez will know that with Dovi out front, with the pace that he's got, the only way of beating him is to beat him up a bit.
Look at that progression, Steve, on the right-hand side of your picture. The gap between Vinales and Petrucci has come down in the space of 4 laps by nearly 3 seconds. I just fear that Vinales might just not have enough time left. He's got the pace and the speed to be in this battle, but he might just be running out of juice in terms of the race distance. Dovizioso, Marquez, looks like they're breaking away here, or they're trying to break away. Zarco, has he just run out of grip in these crucial final stages? 4 laps and 2 corners to go.
I think Vinales will be with this group, Matt. Where he finishes in it, I can't say, but I think he will be a part of this group. They're going to be engaging soon.
Well, I did say before the race that I felt Vinales, if he could have got a good start, would be in that lead group. He's left it late, but better late than never. Dovizioso then leads 4 to go here in Qatar. Marquez in second place, then Rossi, Zarco, Crutchlow, Pedrosa, Petrucci, Vinales, still all in with a shout. Vinales again on that last lap, a personal best lap, a 1:54.450. How is Maverick Vinales reeling off those lap times at this stage of the race with all that mileage on those tyres? Brilliant performance by the Spanish rider.
A 56.4 from Zarco, another one of those. And he'll find himself another couple of places back as Petrucci, having switched to mapping 3. He's moved up a place now, past Dani Pedrosa into 6th place.
This is what Vinales needs. He needs a bit of a carve-up going on ahead of him, because it's just going to drag him back closer into contention. Dovizioso hasn't been able to break the shackles of Marquez or Rossi. Has Zarco got anything in reserve in these final 3.5 laps? Well, Jorge Lorenzo had a premature ending to his first night of the season, and this is why. And this is a fairly rapid crash. On the brakes.
Oh dear. Something went horribly wrong there for Johan Zarco. I don't know what. Sorry, for Jorge Lorenzo. Did he hit a neutral or something? What happened?
He's had a shocking weekend, hasn't he, Lorenzo? A weekend to forget.
This is not a shocking race, though. This is far from over. Dovizioso and Marquez. Marquez and Dovizioso.
Yeah. Zarco's run out of grip, Steve. He has completely run out of grip. His victory hopes have completely gone here. There'll be no dream French victory for the first time since 1999. Cal Crutchlow's picked him off now as well. It was a real gallant and valiant charge by Zarco. He's run out of steam, but a man who certainly hasn't is Maverick Vinales, who now is right on the rear tyre of Danilo Petrucci.
Yeah, this is on. Lynn Jarvis can smell a podium here, not just from one rider, potentially 2 as well.
Fastest lap of the race, Steve.
Wow.
On lap 19 by Andrea Dovizioso, a 1:55.240. That's half a second quicker than the predicted race pace on lap 19 of 22. Andrea Dovizioso is trying to break them up here. He's trying to check out.
Dovizioso, Marquez and Rossi at the moment are breaking away from Crutchlow as well. Look at that, the top 3 getting away. Rossi's desperately clinging onto this group. I'm surprised Marquez is even in touch with him.
He's not a man either, is he? Andrea Dovizioso had to cave into the pressure. He's got ice running through those veins. We saw it last year when it came down to epic last lap showdowns with Marc Marquez at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Dovizioso got the better of Marquez on both occasions. He was never going to get rattled by all the pre-season favourite tags or anything like that. Nothing was going to get to go to his head. He was going to keep his feet firmly on the ground.
Tell you what though, Matt, traditionally speaking, Marc Marquez hasn't always seen Qatar as his favourite circuit, but he comes away from here with points. He's not giving this one up.
Johann Zarco, Steve's going to be doing really well at the moment to cling on to a top 6, which is unbelievable when you think he led, what, for the majority of the first 18 laps. I think he's about to be picked off by Danilo Petrucci if he's not careful.
Marc Marquez is doing everything here. He is throwing the kitchen sink at this to stay with Dovizioso, but it's going to be another flying lap coming in a moment from the Ducati rider. Valentino Rossi still there in third. Crutchlow's broken away, he's in fourth.
Yeah, Marquez and Rossi last time around to stay with Dovizioso. They fired in their personal best laps. That's how hard they're having to push just to go with the factory Ducati man. And we know Dovizioso leads coming out the final corner. He's going to win the race because you're not going to out-grunt a Ducati down the start-finish straight, not in a million years, not unless you've got a space shuttle.
On the start-finish straight we go, across the line, 55.3, 55.2, 55.3, both Marquez and Rossi putting in again their fastest laps as Petrucci dives up the inside of Johann Zarco and moves up into 5th place.
And Vinales, as he found a way through on Dani Pedrosa, not quite. Pedrosa, will he have the inside line? No, Vinales, that was brilliant through turn number 1. So Maverick Vinales are now up into 7th place. Probably the best he can hope for is going to be 5th. Well, that's still going to be a tremendous charge through the pack for Vinales.
On board now with number 93, Marc Marquez, the reigning champion. He saw a lot of the tail-end unit of Andrea Dovizioso last year, and he's looking at it again here.
He didn't like being beaten by Dovizioso in Austria. He didn't like being beaten by Dovizioso in Japan. He won't like being beaten by Dovizioso here in Qatar, but Dovizioso, the epitome of cool and calm right now at the front of this field.
He bided his time, didn't he? He picked them off one by one. Andrea Dovizioso. Marc Marquez, has he got anything left in the tank? He's so close, and there's not long left here in this race. We now head towards these fast right-handers, and this is where Marquez has got to find a way through.
He's got to find something really, really special. Not only has Andrea Dovizioso got the top speed of that Ducati to rely on, but to make a move with Andrea Dovizioso, you better make sure you can make it stick, because he's such a late and aggressive breaker himself. Dovizioso, famed for being one of the latest breakers in the MotoGP field. Can Marc Marquez, with the grunt and acceleration of the Ducati, get even close to making a move?
He'll be frustrated. Maverick Vinales here is homing in now on Danilo Petrucci for 5th.
As we said, Steve Zarco, he's plummeted outside the top 6.
Here we go then, we start the final lap of the race. Dovizioso being grunted on by his Ducati team. Marc Marquez, surely, Matt, has to make a move before we get to T16.
Was Dovizioso just in a fraction hot at the first corner? That might have just given Marc Marquez a bit of a scent. Doesn't really look like it though, just maybe was deceiving from the camera. Marquez closes up through that turn number 2. Dovizioso, he's been the bridesmaid 3 years on the trot here in Qatar. 3 successive second place finishes. Can he go one better? He's under serious pressure from the world champion.
If there's anyone that can create overtaking manoeuvres where there aren't any, it's Marc Marquez, the world champion. Rossi's desperate for these two to engage, but he's just not close enough.
Yeah, Rossi might now just be waiting to pick up the pieces. Marquez has got brilliant edge grip and he's so late on the brakes.
Running out of chances here, and he won't care about team communication at the moment, that's for sure. Rossi's there to pick up the pieces should it go wrong, but his eyes are only on this red Ducati that we're on board with now. Will it be Dovi or will it be Marquez? Here we go then. Marquez just really pushing that front end, desperate to get in touch.
He can't do anything more. The kitchen sink and everything else has gone here for Marc Marquez. He cannot do anything more. He's got to make sure he gets in front of Andrea Dovizioso going into that final couple of corners. Can he strike at turn 15? Not close enough through these right-handers. He tries to close up on Dovizioso. He's going to go for it. You know Marc Marquez is going to attack.
He's going to find a way somewhere. If it's 15 or if it's 16, it'll be one of those 2 corners that Marc Marquez will pounce, and it's not turn 15.
It's not 15. He's close enough. Is he going to strike? Will it be a block pass to break up Dovizioso's rhythm? He moves to the inside. Marc Marquez, here he comes out of the inside. It's the final corner, the Qatar Grand Prix. Dovizioso's getting him on the comeback. It's all about the horsepower shootout now.
It's a repeat of Japan and Austria. Dovizioso wins the opening race of 2018, but what a race it was. Marc Marquez finishes finishes in second. He had to have a go, and he did. Rossi comes home in third. A carbon copy of what we've seen before.
3 epic last corner showdowns between Marc Marquez and Andrea Dovizioso in the last few months, and it's 3-0 to Andrea Dovizioso. On every occasion, he has come out on top. Marc Marquez gave his all. There was nothing left in the tank from the reigning world champion as he fought to try and win that opening Grand Prix of the year. He misses out by just 0.02 of a second. Finally, Andrea Dovizioso tastes victory here in Qatar in a MotoGP Grand Prix. Brilliant second place for Marquez. Cracking ride by Valentino Rossi in third. The top 3 covered by less than 0.8 of a second. Johan Zarco finished down in 8th place, but wow. We'll have 18 more of those, please.
You can, we're going to talk about how great Dovizioso was in that race, but you cannot fault what this man here has just tried to do. That was heroic from Marc to even get close enough to attack. He had to have a go, he had to have a look. And fair play to Valentino. The tyres lasted long enough, and he picks up a podium, and I think he'll be delighted with that.
Oh, he'll be over the moon. Yeah, Valentino Rossi finishing 0.7 of a second off the race win. After all the troubles in winter testing, just about the ideal start for Rossi. Maverick Vinales, what would he have done had he started higher than 12? Because he came through to 6. His charge in the second half of the race from Vinales was one of the most spectacular fight backs you'll ever see. Great job by Vinales. It will be a case of what might have been as far as he's concerned. Certainly a case of not what might have been for this man.
You just knew, didn't you, when it didn't happen here at 15, he had to have a look at 16.
Marc Marquez would have not slept for a month if he hadn't tried this move.
And he just tries there as hard as possible to hold him off. It's just not quite there, and of course the Ducati power. Okay, Honda have improved on that over the winter.
Dovizioso, he tricked Marquez in Austria, didn't he? He left the door open knowing that Marquez would come in hot, and then he would get him on the cutback, and it looked like maybe he did that there as well. He left Marquez room because he didn't want Marquez making a do-or-die move and wiping out the pair of them, and Dovizioso knew if he just left him room and on the cutback, he probably thought, well, I'm braking really late. If Marc comes up the inside, he's going to run on. I'll cut him back, and with the horsepower, thank you very much.
Second in 2015, second in 2016, second in 2017, second overall last year, but he's no bridesmaid today. Andrea Dovizioso has done it. A pat on the back here, and rightly so for Maverick. He will be ruining the start that he made here today.
Well, apart from Andrea Dovizioso, ride of the night in MotoGP for me. This man gave his absolute all as well. Everybody out there left it all out there on the circuit, didn't they? Because Johan Zarco, he took the fight to the field for the first 18 laps. He was briefly headed by Marc Marquez, but 8th place at the end of that race for Johan Zarco. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that, quite clearly, in staying at the front for as long as he did. He ran out of grip.
Solid results for Crutchlow in 4th, Petrucci in 5th. Here's Rossi celebrating with the Sky VR46 camp. Further down the order, Iannone 9th, Miller 10th, Rabat a great 11th. Fair play to Morbidelli 12th, and the fastest rookie ahead of Bautista and Siren with his first World Championship points as well.
Claudio Domenicali there in the black leather jacket, the CEO of Ducati. Yeah, Valentino Rossi, you could just see with the Yamaha management, close, but not quite close enough. That just shows how tight and competitive it's going to be in MotoGP this year. Valentino Rossi, 7/10 away from your race winner. Not quite close enough.
They didn't look like they were going to be that close to the race leader, though, did they, earlier on in the weekend?
No, I think coming into this weekend, if you'd have said to Valentino Rossi, you're going to be on the podium, you're going to be less than a second off the race winner, he would have signed on the dotted line.
Here he is then, Andrea Dovizioso. Well, he turns 32 next week, Matt. What a present.
Might as well start the party early. Yeah, the dream start to 2018 for Andrea Dovizioso.
There is Valentino in Parc Ferme, congratulating the team, signing a new 2-year contract and justifying the fact that he is still capable of cutting it with the world's elite. But these two guys put on some show for us last year, and it just gets better and better.
It's just amazing, isn't it, when you look at Andrea Dovizioso's renaissance in many respects. That was his 7th win in the last 14 races. So in the last 14 Grand Prix, he's got a 50% winning rate. Counter that to the previous 170 odd races when he won 2. I think it's fair to say it's been a bit of an Italian renaissance for him and for Ducati, of course.
Brilliant stuff. He looked so confident when we arrived here on Thursday, and he's just continued where he left off last year.
You knew he wouldn't crack. He's too long in the tooth, too experienced and too fast to crack under the pressure. Marc Marquez, though, if you want anybody to lay it all on the line, took so many risks to try and beat Andrea Dovizioso, but again, he came up short. I say short by probably, what, the width of a front tyre, 0.02 of a second.
Cal is in Parc Ferme, of course, as top independent rider.
The last lap of the race from the top 3, 55.8 from Dovizioso, 55.7 from Marquez, a 55.8 from Rossi. Incredible pace.
Nice to see there as well, 2 former teammates embracing Cal and Dovizioso. Wow, a great race and a great way to start 2018. It was a bit of a chess match at times. They were all together. Zarco led for so long. This man will be thinking about what might have been podium-wise. You just wonder if he got a bit too aggressive in those early stages.
Yeah, judging by the body language, as his rider coach Fonzi Nieto gets up, it seems like, certainly in that part of the conversation that we joined, it was probably the front end that was lacking a bit in those crucial final laps for Danilo Petrucci. Andrea Dovizioso is about to start contract negotiations with Ducati, which means his management will be talking to that man on the right, Claudio Domenicali. I'd try and stick a few more noughts on that deal now, Andrea.
Great MotoGP debut for Hafiz Syahrin, the first Malaysian rider to enter a MotoGP race and the first Malaysian to score points as well. 14th is not bad at all, 2nd fastest rookie.
Yeah, he was only 4 seconds behind Franco Morbidelli. And Franco Morbidelli's had a lot more time on a MotoGP bike than Hafiz Syahrin, so plenty of signs of encouragement there for the young Malaysian.
I don't know what happened to Aleix Espargaro on that last lap. It's a lap of 2:16 and falls out of the points.
He always finds a way on Sunday to deliver, doesn't he, Valentino Rossi? You would not have expected him to be doing 55.8s on the last lap of the race, to be so close to Marquez and Dovizioso.
And you know, bar that one lap where it was looking a bit shady for him, he might have been in the mix there on that final lap as well, because he did have a pretty bad lap with about 7 or 8 to go.
Top independent team honours then going to Cal Crutchlow.
That's his, that equals his best finish here in Qatar as well. It's a solid way to start the season for him.
Top job by Crutchlow, Steve. There would not have been a lot of people backing him to be the top independent team rider, especially when he was going head-to-head with Danilo Petrucci, who's shown such great pace all weekend. Here he is then, Valentino Rossi. What a start to 2018 on the podium, and he's down talking to Simon.
Veli, you always find a way to pull something special out of yourself on race day. We're so happy that you decided to do it for another 2 years.
Thanks a lot. I'm so happy, but I expect more compared to last year, because with this bike, with the bike of this year, I feel good. I know that Marquez and Dovizioso are the faster at this moment. They have a little bit more. So when Dovi go in front, I try to give 120% for stay with them, because I need to go from the second group for stay on the podium. And I'm so happy. I enjoy a lot. Thanks to my team, thanks to Yamaha, and now we try to continue like this.
And some people think that he's too old to be riding a MotoGP and blocking rides for younger talent to come through.
Well, when you look at Valentino and Dovi as well, Matt, let's not forget he's gone over the 30 mark now. There's hope for a lot of other riders at this moment in time, and proof that it's not always a young man's sport.
Well, he acknowledged as well, right now, as we suspected, Dovizioso and Marquez just have the slight superior pace. Can't wait to hear the thoughts of Dovizioso Marquez about that last corner. When he gave his all, as he always does, the reigning world champion. Not quite good enough. Marquez second.
Mark, there's not a lot guaranteed in racing, but one thing that is you throw everything at it at race day.
Yeah, Ferrari show go on. I mean, everything in, all in. I try to push my 100%. I knew before the race that here is maybe one of the most difficult tracks for me. But even like that, I try, and when Dovi was pushing, I was extra limit, and closing front, losing the rear. But anyway, I arrived close in the last corner. I try. Even like this, I thought that Dovi was able to overtake me before the finish line with the slipstream. But anyway, I try and to see what's going on. But someday I will do. But again, he beat me. But very happy because here Podium was the main target. Second place, we lost only 5 points. So really happy. Thank you.
Yeah, not very often you see a rider as happy as that to be second place. But like he said, all in. That's the only way he knows how to do it, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, you were absolutely spot on with what you said. He wouldn't be able to sleep tonight had he not had a go. He's not going to be going home tonight wondering. He put everything on the line to just try his luck. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite there. In the slipstream there, they did just start to come to him, but the finish line came a bit too soon for Marc Marquez.
I don't think he had another thousandth of a second in him in that race, did he, Marc Marquez? Great to see him there taking the fight to Andrea Dovizioso, but the night belongs to the factory Ducati rider. Can't wait to hear his thoughts on a brilliant start to 2018. Let's hope we get 18 more cracking races like that over the next few months, heading to Valencia at the end of the season. But what a way to kick off the new year with victory for Ducati and Andrea Dovizioso in a real nail-biting, intriguing showdown that went all the way down to the last corner, just as it did in Austria, just as it did in Japan. And yet again, this man was able to beat Marc Marquez. Here's your Qatar Grand Prix winner, Andrea Dovizioso.
Andrea, that was class and a dream start to your championship.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was a perfect race, perfect weekend. We worked very well. We did everything in a perfect way. Like I expected, there was a lot of fast riding in the race, but we managed in a perfect way. With a really bad start, but was calm. I recovered very slowly and saved a lot of the tires. And I was able to push at the end, but at the end the tire was finished like everybody. So it was very difficult. And like always with Marc, it's very difficult the last lap, but I was able to beat him again, and I'm so happy. And we have to win in this track after the 3-second position. So really thank you to the team. We worked very well during the winter test. That is very important.
Great scenes then for Dovizioso, and in many ways, Matt, there'll be a bit of relief there because he knows everybody's been pointing him out as the favourite, and he probably favoured himself as well, but doing it is a completely different challenge altogether.
Well, last year, Andrea Dovizioso finally convinced himself that he was good enough to fight for the MotoGP World Championship, good enough to take the fight to the likes of Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi and co. What comes with self-belief, Steve? He's just growing from strength to strength. I mean, at this stage last year, nobody in a million years gave Andrea Dovizioso any prayer of fighting for the World Championship. He proved so many people wrong last year. And coming into this year, you know, I think people were sort of thinking, well, could he carry it on? None of us thought it was a flash in the pan. A flash in the pan is not winning 6 Grand Prix last year. But what as Simon said, the perfect words, the dream start to 2018. Not only did he win, but once again, when it came down to some pretty intense warfare with that Marc Marquez, he beat him. Marc Marquez is so aggressive, so hard in the fight. Psychologically, Andrea Dovizioso has got the upper hand right now because in those 3 dogfights, he's come out on top.
Yeah, 3-0 on those last lap encounters, or last corner encounters, shall we say. Marc's going to want to try and fight back in that department. But like Marc said, second place from Qatar.
Yeah, brilliant. It's not a Honda track, is it? Or it's not traditionally known as a Honda circuit. Marc's not won here since 2014. It's not a circuit that he particularly likes himself, so to be getting on the plane back to Europe with 20 points safely tucked away in his top pocket, job done as far as Marc Marquez is concerned. And you just knew. I could have put my mortgage on the fact he was going to attack Andrea Dovizioso at that final corner. Some good rides further down the field. We should give those a quick mention before the podium. Cal Crutchlow fourth, as we said. Petrucci fifth. A great top six for Vinales. Pedrosa seventh. The fast fading, unfortunately, Johan Zarco in eighth. Iannone and Miller was your top 10. Tito Rabat in the points. Good ride by Rabat in 11th. Top rookie was Morbidelli. Alvaro Bautista salvaging a couple of points from a pretty awful weekend there in 13th. Cyrene and Carol Abraham rounding out the points. Tom Lutey's MotoGP debut saw him finish 16th, just ahead of his fellow rookie Taka Nakagami. Bradley Smith, Aleix Espargaro, Scott Redding and Xavier Simeon were your other finishers. Terrible night for the factory Aprilia team with Aleix Espargaro 19th and Scott Redding 20th, but all smiles on the podium as you'd expect. The podium ceremony about to get underway then here in Qatar. Could not have had a better start to the 2018 MotoGP World Championship, could we? Steve said at the start of the programme, 127 days we've waited since Valencia. There's been so much talk about it being the best ever year in the history of the MotoGP World Championship. Well, we certainly weren't let down and disappointed on the opening night. Good to see there the two rival camps from HRC and Ducati congratulating each other on the podium. As always, a popular visitor to the rostrum, Valentino Rossi, a clench of the fist, big result for Rossi there, embracing Claudio Domenicali. Marc Marquez comes to the podium as well. Some rather unsavoury and rather unnecessary, to be frank, booing of the reigning world champion, not the scenes we like to see after a cracking race like that. But all the plaudits, and quite rightly so, will go to Desmo Dovi, getting the congratulations of Dorna CEO Carmelo Espeleta. Andrea Dovizioso then, 3 times the last 3 years, he's had to go to the second place on that podium. This time, he can stand proud on the top step. Dovizioso takes the spoils in the opening Grand Prix of the season. Constructor trophy about to be handed over to Ducati CEO Claudio Domenicali. I think he's pretty happy about that as well. Valentino Rossi, the 39-year-old Italian from Tavullia, his 306th MotoGP start. He's about to collect his 192nd trophy. He gets better with age, like a good old vintage wine, doesn't he, Valentino Rossi? Marc Marquez, your reigning world champion, the 25-year-old Spaniard. 64th MotoGP podium of Marc Marquez's career, and as he said, it was all in. He tried his absolute utmost to take the victory here. 103rd career podium for Marc Marquez, but it's all about Andrea Dovizioso. He lit up the Losail International Circuit here tonight in Qatar. The 31-year-old from Forlì in Italy. His 277th Grand Prix start. His 9th MotoGP victory. Andrea Dovizioso is your first winner of 2018.
What a way to start the 2018 season, and we've got good news. There's 18 more rounds of this. We will be in Argentina, of course, in 3 weeks' time, and it could not come soon enough. Celebrations then here on the podium for the top 3, Andrea Dovizioso, Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi. The stats that Matt read out there at Valentino Rossi. He just cannot stop knocking on that podium door. He's definitely going to get to 200, isn't he, over the next 2 years? Celebrations all round. Good to see them all smiling, having a good chat as well for the first round of the season. Andrea Dovizioso, and Matt has just informed me that is Ducati's first win here in Qatar since Casey Stoner 2009, of course 9 years ago. And it has to be said that, of course, Casey Stoner being the last champion on a Ducati, if anyone's going to get on that top step at the end of the season, it's going to be this man in the middle.